data validation, worksheet protection, and creating macros. Data validation is a nice feature used in Excel. You can use it to control the type of data or the values that you can input in a cell. It will reduce your input errors or the input errors of the people who use your spreadsheet. You can also create error messages or input messages, and you are learning about that, or you will learn about that in your pre-lab if you haven't completed it yet. It's pretty straightforward. So we're going to continue on here, and we're going to talk about macros, and that's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about. Now, a macro is a series of commands and functions that is stored in a Microsoft Visual Basic module. When you create a macro, you create code called VBA, or Visual Basic for Applications. A macro will automate your keystrokes and your actions in Excel. You want to use a macro when you complete the same tasks over and over and over again. And again, when you create the macro, a VBA program code is automatically generated, and we're going to take a look at that later. The best way to learn this is to do an example. So we are going to talk about the example I have here on the screen. You work for a company that employs people to make customer satisfaction calls for various companies. Your department provides services for all the major automakers in the U.S. Each employee is assigned a state, and it is their job to call each household and conduct a brief survey. You receive a weekly list of customers from each auto company, and it is your job to separate the list by state and distribute the list to your employees. Your manager would like the customers stored in an Excel file with each state having its own worksheet. So you receive your file from the vendor for the automakers, and this file doesn't have many records in it, but the files that you will receive have, they will have 10,000, 100,000, 1,000, but whatever it is, most of the data, it'll be big data. There'll be quite a bit of information, okay? This file we get as a text file. Remember, we talked about last lecture, you can get a file over the internet or emailed to you or sent via FTP, file transfer protocol. It can be a CSV file, it can be an XML file, it can be another Excel file, it can be a database file, but this is just a file that was sent to you, and it's raw data, it has information in it, and you need to glean that information out and use it for your purposes. So when we create this macro, we know that we need to create this Excel spreadsheet because our manager wants us to create this. And the spreadsheet that I have created and that he has asked us to create, the template looks like what you see on the screen. And more specifically, you can take a look at it right here. That's what we will be creating. Okay, so to create your template, which I've already created for you, we'll create the Excel workbook named Customers. We'll create tabs with the names of the states we need. We're just using a subset of data right now, so we only have 3 states. We want to type in the information that will never change. So the information that I have on that spreadsheet will never change unless we do a redesign. Then if we want some data validation rules, we should create them before we run the macro or pull in the information. Another thing that is good practice is to protect the template worksheet that we're going to create and to protect other cells that you do not want people to change. Once we have all this created, then we're going to copy the worksheet that we created in the template to all the other tabs and then change the state names. So let me give you a better example here. So we're going to create a template of how we want the file to look. Once we create this template, we're going to copy it to the Ohio tab. Well, we're going to create these tabs, and then we're going to copy that template to the Ohio tab, the New York tab, and the Washington tab. So all of these tabs will look the same way. This template is only going to be used to import our information and to filter our information and then to copy it over. So we don't want anyone to change this template. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is set up some data validation. I have already done this for you in the spreadsheet, and there are the examples, and you've done these in your lab, so you should feel very comfortable with them. I've created data validation for the sales person, the finance person, the delivery, and the overall purchase, because your customer, your call service people, what they'll be doing is calling these customers and asking them to rate your salesperson on a 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. So I put in a little input message there, and I also have validity in there. So if I don't have it, if I input an incorrect value, it's going to display an error message. I created this in the template, and then I copied it and pasted it over to my other states. So when I did that, it copied that data validation over to those spreadsheets. In addition, I just put the data input ranges in the first row here, and then all you do is highlight it and copy it down, and it will copy all the data validation rules down for you. Okay, so now we've created that template, and that template we're going to use all the time. Let's break down the steps that we want to do for this macro. Well, number 1, I want you to look down at number 4 actually at first. We want to protect this worksheet. We only want our customer service people to be able to change information in this worksheet we want them to change. We don't want them to change the main template information. So we will always protect those portions of the worksheet, and I'm going to show you how to do that later. Now, if we protect the worksheet, we have to unprotect the worksheet before we can actually run the macro to manipulate our data in the spreadsheet. So that's why I have step number 4 is to unprotect the worksheet. Step number 1 is to unprotect the worksheet. So we run a macro that unprotects the worksheet. Then we run another macro called ImportFile. It's going to delete the contents from the worksheet, from all of the worksheets, and then import new information that we receive from the vendors. We'll have another macro named SeparateStates. The first thing it's going to do is concatenate the phone number, because the phone number is all together as one value and it's difficult to read. So your customer service reps have asked for you to split that up. So we'll do that with the concatenate function. Then we're going to filter the information so we can filter it by state, and then we will copy and paste it into each spreadsheet. And then again, we talked about the final macro called protect sheets, because after we do all of these macros, then we want to protect our sheets again so no one can make changes to any information. I'm breaking these down into 4 different steps, and we're going to create 4 macros to do this, simply because if you make a mistake in a macro, you have to go back and either redo the macro by following the steps, or you need to know the VBA code to go in and make changes, and which you can do, but when you're new at this, you're better off to make it in small, simple steps. And notice I've broken these down into modules. One module is going to unprotect worksheets. One module is going to import the file. Another module is going to separate the states, and the final module will protect the worksheet again. So I've broken it down into little modules. If you were a programmer type, you would have modules like this, but you would put them in one big program. I want you to note, before you begin this, you should always create a backup file before you start these macros, because if you make some major mistakes, you can go back and fix those. Or have a spreadsheet that was correct before you made the problems. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to actually walk through this and create these macros. Okay, so here's our spreadsheet. Now, we want this spreadsheet to be protected, right? We want the information. We don't want people to be able to make any changes to this unless we want them to. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the template here. The template, we don't want any of this to change. We don't want anyone to be able to get into this template and make any changes. So I'm going to protect this whole workbook. With the Ohio, New York, and Washington, I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see a little better. We don't want our customer service reps to change any of the titles, and we don't want any of the information here about our customers. We don't want our customer service reps to be able to change that. However, we do want them to be able to input the ratings over here. So we will protect part of this worksheet, but not the whole thing. And that's the same thing for Ohio and New York. So let's go ahead and create this macro. Now, when you're creating these macros, you may do this over and over and over again until you get it correct. And it can be very frustrating because you're writing a program. It's basically programming code, and you have to do it step by step in a correct order. And if you don't, then it won't work correctly and you have to start back at the beginning. Once you get this created, it's going to save you much time, because you do this every day and you get thousands of records, and it just would take you too long. So let's go ahead and walk through this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start my macro creation. Oh, and by the way, see the developer tab there? You may not have that developer tab, and if you don't, just click on File, click on Options, click on Advanced, somewhere down here. Give me a minute just to find this and I'll get back on. Okay, I found it. You want to click on the File tab and you want to click on the Options, but you want to click on Customize Ribbon. And then just go over, and where it says Developer, click on the Developer tab. And then you want to click OK. I don't know if you can see this. My screen is too big, so I moved it over to another screen, and I'm just clicking OK. All right, so we have the Developer tab. And we're going to just record the macro. So I'm going to click on Record Macro. I'm going to give this macro a name. And what do we want to call our first macro? I'm going to start with number 4 again, because I want to protect the worksheet, because we can't unprotect the worksheet until we protect it. So this one I'm going to call Protect Worksheets. The name of the macro cannot have any spaces in it. You can assign a shortcut key to it. So we could put a P there if we wanted. So it would be Control P that would automatically run this. Okay, now to protect it, let's start with the template. The template page, I want to completely protect it. I don't want anyone to be able to change anything except for me. So I'm going to click on the Template tab. I'm going to click on Review. I'm going to click on, I want to protect the worksheet, not the workbook, because the workbook is the entire file. And I want to just protect the sheet. So I'm going to click on Protect Sheet. I'm not going to click on anything here because I don't want my user to be able to click in any cell, even if they can change it or not. And then I'm going to give it a password. In this case, I'm just going to give it a password of admin, capital A-D-M-I-N. Okay, so now if you notice, no one can do anything in here. I click on it and try to type, and you cannot make any changes. So we have that. Now I'm going to click on the Ohio tab. With these tabs, or with this worksheet, I want my customer service rep to be able to input this information, but that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Allow Users to Edit Ranges. So I click on that. Okay, it comes up with the range from the template worksheet, but we don't want to use that. We want to create a new one. And that one is from I4 to L100, and I have L100 because this is just a subset of information. You know, you could go as many rows or down that you would like. I'm going to call this OH, or Ohio, so I know this is the range that I'm using for this spreadsheet. A range password. I don't want to put a password on it because I want any of my customer service reps to be able to type information in those cells. But if I had other people that I would give permission to maybe change the customer name or the address, but I didn't want my customer service reps to have that permission, I could create another range and give them a password. In this case, we don't want to give a password out there, because if you're getting into this worksheet, then you can change that information. So I will click on OK. Now I have this. I'm going to click on Apply, and then I'm going to click on OK again. Now that I've done that, I need to protect the whole sheet. So I'm going to protect it. I'm just going to call this Ohio, just for ease of use. Okay, so I have that protected. Notice when I click on any other cell here and I try to type in information, it won't let me. But when I click over here, and I don't know why this does this the first time, and I'm not sure why it does it the first time. So I'm going to unprotect the worksheet. And these are just some of the small things that happen when you're doing this, and you don't know exactly why, but sometimes it happens. So I'm going to unprotect my worksheet again, if I can type the password correctly. Okay, then I'm going to do this again. I don't know why, but when I do it twice, the second time, it works. And I'm sure there's a reason. I just haven't went back and checked. Okay, so here's Ohio again. I'm going to click OK. Let's see if we modify this. Okay, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Apply, click OK, protect the worksheet, give it a password. See, it works now. I don't know why. And I'm sure there's a reason, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so we've done that for Ohio. Now we need to do it for the New York worksheet. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm going to select the ranges that I want my customer service reps to be able to input information. Allow users to edit ranges. I'm going to create a new range. I'm going to call it New York. I'm going to click on OK. There's New York selected. I'm going to click on Apply. And I'm going to go ahead and do the Protect Worksheet from here. You could have done it from the ribbon like I did, but you can also do it from here. And I will call this password New York. Of course, you're going to want to make more descriptive names than this. Okay, let's see if it works this time. There we go. There's the... And I know one of you will tell me why. I just don't know. And I don't want to take the time right now to find out, since I have a workaround. Be it how clunky it is. You know, it's clunky, I know, but it's a workaround. Click on this. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to protect the sheet. Give it a password. There we go. Don't know why, but it worked. Okay, let's go now to Washington, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to select my range. Allow users to edit the ranges. Click on New. Call it Washington. I have my range. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click on Washington. I'm going to click on Apply. I'm going to click on Protect Worksheet. Give it a password. I'm going to see that it doesn't work. I'm going to unprotect the sheet. Go in again. OK it. Protect the sheet. And it works. Okay, we went through all these steps just to protect the workbook. So I'm going to click on the Developer tab. And I'm going to click on Stop Recording. This is how programmers walk through and do their code, and this is why it takes so long at times, because what you think is going to happen many times is not what happens. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I've created one module. I want to make, well, I can't make sure it works yet because I've got to create the unprotect macro, because if I run it right now, it's not going to work because the cells are already protected. So let's create the macro called unprotect. Click on developer. I'm going to click on record macro. I'm going to call this unprotect. I'll give it a shortcut of a U. Click OK. I'm not, well, I do. I'm going to need to unprotect the template also because we'll be copying information in there. But at the end, we want it all protected before the customer service rep people use this. Okay, so the first thing that I do is I come over to Review, click on Unprotect Worksheet, type in Admin, Unprotected. Go to Ohio, click on Unprotect Sheet, type in Ohio, click OK, Unprotected. New York, Unprotect, password, Unprotected, Washington, all unprotected. We don't have to worry about allowing the users to edit the ranges. We don't have to delete any of that because we've unprotected the whole worksheet. So I will click on the Developer tab and I will stop. Okay, so we think we've done this correctly, and we'll see. I'm going to click on the Template tab. I'm just going to go ahead and start from here on A4. I'm going to click. There's several ways to run this, and we're going to learn how to put it in the Quick Access toolbar. I have one here right now. I'm going to go ahead and remove that because we're going to create some. We can put tabs up there to run our macros. But you can also run the macro from this. So you just click on Macros. Okay. Oh, the SeparateStates. Ignore that. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete this one. These are ones that I was doing before. All right, so we unprotected the worksheet. Let's just hope this protect works. Okay, and it didn't. It gave us an error. And we're getting an error in this protection allow edit ranges. I'm not sure why. I'll have to come back to that later and look at that. And that's the thing with this. It's very easy to have problems. And that's why I'm going to have you do some of this, but I'm not going to have you do it in depth because it could take you quite a bit of time. All right, so I'll figure out what that is later. Let's go back to the other one and see if maybe that one's going to run. But it didn't protect them, so it probably will not. Well, it did unprotect them. They were already unprotected anyway. Okay, so see how nice it is that I broke this down in modules because the unprotect works, but I didn't get the protect to work. So I can go back and fix that later. Okay, and I don't want to spend time right now trying to find out why. I'm sure there's a reason, so I'm going to have to play around with it and see what's going on. I had it working before, of course, before I sat down and I went through this video. But we'll look at it again later and see what's going on. Okay, so we have those two parts done. Now we have two other parts. The next part, so we'd run this in order. The file would already be protected. This workbook would be protected all the time. And then let's say at the start of the day, you want to import your file, your data, get it all ready for your customer service reps, and then they can make their calls. So the workbook is already protected from the day before. So you would run your first macro that would unprotect the worksheet. Okay? Well, after you do that, what do you want to do next? You want to import your file. So let's create a macro to import the file. I'm going to go ahead and record it. I'm going to call this ImportFile. And by the way, notice how I do this. If I don't have spaces to separate the names, I always capitalize the first letter of the name so you can read it. And I'm going to make this a Control-I. I'm going to click OK. And let's hope this one works. And again, it's very haphazard when you're doing this. You know, I have this happen all the time when I'm creating these, that things don't work properly and I have to go back and make changes. And there are times when I actually have to get into the VBA code itself and make changes. So it can get quite frustrating, but it can be very, very helpful when you get it working correctly. And it will save you a lot of time. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to click on Data. I'm going to click on Get External Data. By the way, if you've noticed, my screen, my screen is so it's so big that the ribbon is kind of bunching up. So yours, you know, your Get External Data, it will be there. It's just going to look, it's going to be spread out a little more, so it'll be easier for you to see. All right, the file that I'm getting it from is a text file. I happen to be pathed right there. It's called Customers. I'll double click on that. Click on Next. I want it comma delimited because that's what's separating it, and you can tell it looks nice and clean when I do that. And I'm going to click on Finish. I want to put it in B4, but you know what? Look what I'm doing. I'm putting it in Ohio, and I don't want it in Ohio. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click on the template and then click on there because that's where I want it. I want it in A4 in that template. All right, and I should have clicked on that first, but I didn't, so I'm doing it after the fact. Clicking on OK. I click on Template. There's my information. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop this step because remember, I only want to do little pieces at a time to make sure they work correctly. So let's just run this one and hope that this one works at least. So here's my macro, and I click on Run. Okay, and of course, it didn't work correctly. And this is kind of good because then we can see what's going on. All right, so that, I'm going to go back here to the template. I'm going to delete this. And again, this is how it works. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, I'm going to click on cell A4 here and run this and see if maybe I have to be right in that cell. So let's click on it. Okay, that's not working. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to find out what's going on, is I'm going to record this macro again. So I'm going to delete this because I know this information looks good. You know what? Did I delete? You know what I forgot to do is I have to delete all the information. Right now there's no information in here, but I do have to delete it beforehand because the previous day the other information will be here. So I didn't do that step, and it's because I just didn't think about that. So I did earlier when I created the macro at the beginning, but I forgot about it this time. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to the Developer tab. I'm going to click on Macros. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. Again, if you wanted to, you could go in there and try to fix the code, but it's easier for us right now just to redo it. All right, now I'm going to make sure that I'm clicked on the Template tab. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's click on the template. We're going to go back to Ohio first, but let's just click on the template so it will record our keystrokes properly. Okay, let's do this again. Okay, I'm going to click on cell, excuse me, I'm going to click on the Ohio tab. And I'm going to click here and just delete all the information because there's no information now, but this information would have been there from the previous day. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go to New York, delete all the information from New York. Go to Washington, delete all the information from Washington. I'm going to go to the template. This is our previous information, so I'm going to delete this from the template. I'm assuming we only have like 100 records coming in at a time, and that is a very poor assumption. If you come this message, don't worry about it, just click yes. That is not a very good assumption because I assume we'd get more information than that, but for this example, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I have all of this. All right, so now I'm going to try to import. I'm going to click on cell A4 in the template worksheet. I'm going to click on Data. I'm going to click on Get External Data from Text. I'm already pathed to where I need to be. Click on Next, comma delimited. Click on Finish. It's going to be in cell A4. Click on OK. There's my information. I'm going to go ahead, stop recording. Now I'm going to see if this works correctly for me. I'm going to click on the template tab. I'm going to put my mouse in A4, so A4 is selected, and then I'm going to go ahead and run this. And there, it worked correctly. And I could just keep running it again and again. And later on, I'll run these in steps just to make sure they work okay. Okay, so that works. So what is our next step? What do we have to do next? Well, we have these tabs here, and we need to get all of these cells separated by state. You could just do a sort on state and then copy and paste it, but you don't know how many records you'll have at any given time, so you don't know how many rows. So we're going to go ahead and do a filter on this next one, and that should work good for us. Before we do the filter, though, we're going to go ahead and create phone numbers that have a better formatting than what we see. So we're going to go ahead, even though that's not, it really doesn't fit into the macro separate states, but there's really nowhere else to put it, so I'm just going to put that part right there. All right, so let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to stay on cell A4. I'm going to click on record. We're going to call this SeparateStates. We'll give it a control shortcut of S. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is let's just go ahead and concatenate that zip code. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Not zip code, I'm sorry, the phone number. So move this over. I'm going to just make this kind of bigger so we look at it. And I'm going to use the concatenate function. I shouldn't have done that. I want to do a left here. And I want to get the first 3 digits here. And I want a hyphen. Then I'm going to do a mid here. And I want to get the fourth, let's see, I want to get H4, the 4th position, the number of characters 3, another hyphen. And I'm just going to do, I'll do the right function. Right function with H4, comma, 4 digits there, and I hope this looks okay. We'll find out. Great. All right, copy it down. Maybe. I'll have to copy this way. I'm going to copy it down 100 even though we don't have all those records. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and click on the Home tab, click on Copy, click here on H4. I'm going to paste the values, and now we have this correct. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and we have the phone numbers, so we're good to go there. All right, now let's get these states separated. I'm going to select my whole file, and I'm going to assume there are 100 records. You know, if you have more records, you're going to have to make that assumption. And you could have done, what you could have done is selected the whole columns, because really you already have this template in the other worksheets, so you could have just like not put that template there and selected all the columns, or did something like that. So you wouldn't have had to just scroll all the way down like I'm doing. But you know, you can finesse this in your job when you get in and you're actually working with this material. Okay, so I'm going to go to Sort and Filter. By the way, I found some problems with, at first what I was doing is creating this as a table and then filtering it, but I was having all kinds of issues in the macros. I kept getting errors. So there must be some issues with tables and macros. So I'm just doing this way without using a table. I'm going to do a filter here. I'm going to go to the state. I'm going to filter Ohio first. Get all this off. There you go. And there are my Ohio records. I'm going to go ahead and select these, copy them, and paste them. And I'll go ahead and do, oh, something happened here. I'm off one. I must not have pulled the right information. Oh, okay, there we go. And then I need to get rid of this because I had that extra. It's recording all my keystrokes now. It's just doing everything I'm doing. All right, so we have that. And the formatting, you could have fixed the formatting a little bit because I messed it up right here, actually. I don't know why I get so caught up on it. All right, so there's Ohio. Let's go to the template. Let's go back here to the state. I will take off all this and select New York this time. Click OK. Highlight all of this. Go to New York, paste it in. Now I have all the New York information. Go back here. I'm going to take off my filter. Washington. Highlight all the Washington information. Okay, this Washington template doesn't look great. I must have done something. So I'm just going to do that for now. And probably not the best spot to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and take this filter off because I want to do that anyway. I'm not going to take it off there. I'll go over here, take it off, and then I'm just going to copy this over because I don't know what happened to Washington. None of us know what happened to Washington, do we? All right, just kidding. All right, so here's Washington. I mean Washington, D.C. No one knows what happened. Okay, so we have this here, the template. We've copied everything over. And this is it for the macros, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it. And again, I had a lot of extra steps in here that I didn't really need. And so it recorded it, and all the VBA code is there for it. It's just unnecessary. I'm not going to go in and delete it out. If I was actually writing a program, I would go in and delete some of that and then fix it a little bit. Okay, so the main thing is, let's see if this is going to work. All right, so let's just try that module and make sure that module works okay. Separate states. We click on Run, and voila, it's all good. Let's try from the beginning. So we'll click on here, we'll click on macros. Again, the protect and unprotect, I had problems with the protect worksheet, so I'm not going to run that. I'll have to go back later, troubleshoot that, see why it's not working. Right now, I'm not going to take that time to do that. So I click on Run, that worked fine. Then I click on Separate States. There we go. All right, now we have it automated. Now if we have 100,000 records, look how easy that is. Okay, I want to show you some of this VBA code. Again, I told you when you created these steps, you actually created your own program code. So let's kind of walk through some of it. I'm going to click on the macro, and let's just do the import file part of it. Instead of running it, I'm going to click Step Into. And as we're doing this, I can execute the steps of the program to see what happens. So if you click on Debug, it tells you that you can step into this with the F8. Okay, so I'm just going to click the F8 key. Look at this. It's telling me what it's doing. I'm following it all the way through. Okay, this is a nice way to learn VBA. When I started learning this myself, what I would do is I'd create these macros, then I would go in here and dissect this code to understand what it was doing. Of course, I had a thick manual that I purchased, so I could go into the manual and look also. But this is nice if you're learning this code. You can follow it through. Notice this down here with active sheet query tables right there. I have that hard-coded there. So if I move to if I put this information in another location, then I'd have to change this part of the code because it wouldn't work. And there is a way that you can get this so you don't have to hard-code it, and that's not part of this class, so we're not going to worry about that part. Okay, so let's go ahead now. I'm going to go ahead and just have this run. So I'm going to click on Continue or F5 to run the whole thing to finish it up. Close out of here. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to create, you saw how we ran the macros from this little macro icon here, but you can also create your own icons if you want. So if you click on File and you click on Options, and you click on Customize the Ribbon. And let's see, I'm sorry, you want to click on the Quick Access toolbar. And you can go down here and you click on Macros. You find your macros, and in this case, let's see, here's one called Protect Worksheets. So we do click on that. We would click on Add, and this screen is not, I'm going to move it over here. I'm not sure if you can see it from this dual screen, but I'm going to talk you through it and you can see this yourself. What you would do is you would click on, you have the Protect Worksheets here, and then you would just click on, let's see, there's a place to rename it. I do. Let me go back again. And again, I can't show you the bottom here. I have a dual screen. You may not be able to see it. But if you I click on Add, and click on OK, and then I have a little icon up here that will run that macro. And again, once you get really good at this, I wouldn't have separated these macros. I would have put them all in one big macro, but that would mean more problems, more troubleshooting, and more time. But once you get better at this, you know, you would see how it worked. And there's just so much more to this. Okay, a couple other things I want to show you, just to add a little flavor here, is I'm going to go ahead and go into Visual Basic for applications. I'm going to go to the bottom here, and this one here that says SeparateStates, this program code, I'm going to go to the very bottom here where it says End Sub. That's where the execution of the program, excuse me, I sneezed. That's where the execution of the program stops. I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to put one little, I mean, there's so much VBA code you can learn, but we'll just put one little thing in here. Okay. The other thing that you could do too, and I'm not going to do this now, you'll see it in the slide, but when we execute these macros, you kind of see the screen doing it, like someone's doing it while you're watching it. You could actually do something called turning the screen updating off. You'd set it to false, and you wouldn't, or updating to true and to false. The true would turn it, the false would say, okay, don't display it, just run the program. The true would say, okay, display it. So you can do that, and that's in your slide, and you can take a look at that and watch what it does. It's just if you get these really huge macros, you don't want to sit there and watch it all. Plus, it makes it faster if you turn that screen updating off. All right, so we have this. I think I've typed it in correctly, and it was a SeparateStates, so let's go ahead and run it. And let's see, well, if I could do it right. There you go. Call list has been updated. Oh, has been update. That's good. Should say updated. You could fix that. But it's kind of like, I mean, this is something very, very small. This message box, of course, you can make it nicer. I would create little, when my applications would run, I'd create little status bars, and you could do all kinds of fun things. Okay, I think that does it for macros. You're going to be doing a little macro in the InLab. It's not going to be anything huge. It's just going to be a little bit so you know what you're doing. You may get a little frustrated doing the pre-lab macros. Just stay with it. It'd be good to work through this if you have time also.